Here's our cast of characters. Meow meow. I've done all of these in little pieces tonight except the 5-string, and we're going to piece in another chunk, I think. Howdy. We're dealing with open E. This guitar is tuned like a regular guitar. And an open E tuning is basically an E chord, like you're normally making an E chord. But without pushing on the strings. Now this G is 1 fret high, the D is 2 frets high, and the A is 2 frets high. So we're going to make the chord by winding the strings up. The A goes to B, we're going to wind it up 2 frets. The D goes to E. And we fretted this G string on the 1st fret, it goes up 1 fret. Let's check it with a tuner. Now we're making an E chord, the same E chord, note for note, as when it was fretted, but now we don't have to fret it. The implications are amazing. So, that's step 1. So, I was saying the implications are staggering. Here's the first stag. If you want to learn open tunings, open E is a really good place to start. Why? Because of this string, the E string, this low E string. This string is the same as it was in your regular tuning, and it's an E. Well, we're going to have to learn the alphabet: E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, or A, B, C, D, E, F, G. E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, thank you Pythagoras, C sharp, D, D sharp. Now we're back to E, the octave. That's pretty simple. So we know that this E string on the 3rd fret makes E, F, makes a G. It's a G note. If I want a G chord, and all I know is what I've just learned, I can put my fingers across these frets, and I've got a full G major chord. If I would like an A chord, I've gone up to the 5th fret. If I'd like a B chord, I'll go to the 7th fret. C chord, D chord, and of course the high E. People don't usually play chords up here when they're singing. They play chords in the 1st position. But you can't deny that it's very powerful to know what chord you are playing if you need one in a hurry. If you know you have an E string and you can go from A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you can figure out how to make any major chord. From there, we'll go to the next step. When I started, there were no learning materials that I could find. That was in 1967. So I met Tom Rush on a break outside of a little place called The Other Side, a coffee house in Fayetteville, North Carolina, when I was in the Army. I said, "What are you doing when you play with that slide up the neck?" He says, "I'm tuned to open E." "How do you do that?" "You wind the 3 strings up." And that's all I knew about open tunings, was that you wound this up. And I went to the barracks and retuned my guitar, and I've been playing it that way ever since, plus other tunings. Just to get started, and as a small sample of what's possible. Anyway, I taught myself that if I made this kind of a chord, that it made the same sound as when I went up here. You can hear that. So I figured out that this meant I was going up 5 frets, and this meant I was going up 7 frets. So I taught myself a whole system of music based on numbers. This is a 0, 5, 7. That's your E, A, B. And in the end, you're going to keep track by counting more or less. So let's go back to this simple chord. Note that you've got a B string and a B string. So one of the rules is whatever you're doing to this string, you can do to this string. Same with the E's, but right now. But for the simple thing of it, I'm just going to play my A chord with my index finger on the 3rd string 1st fret and my middle finger on the 5th string 2nd fret. It's magic. Now remember, I can do that to this. I can add this other B string here that's now fretted on the 2nd fret. Now this is actually very important. What I learned was when I eventually got the Earl Scruggs book on banjo, which is an open G, same as these 4 strings in the middle, and I learned the names of the chords and their relationships, minors and stuff like that. Anyway, we know this is an E, and this is a very simple A chord. What I've learned is when I push these 2 strings down in this relationship to this thing up here, I'm going up 5 frets. So what happens if I do this and put my fingers here? Now I've gone up 5 plus 5, I've gone up 10, and we know that that's going to be a D. Let's look at another thing we do with this very simple chord. When you hear the Rolling Stones, you're going to hear the open tuning in the key in open A, but really, let's go back even further to just plain rock and roll. Well, it's E, A, and B. We're only in the E. Check it out. open tunings. It's so simple. And you're playing all the notes. If you watch a regular blues, a rock and roll blues band, you got a rhythm player, he's going to be playing his E chord all the time, up and down the neck. It's just, and he'll do the thing where you go E to A, E to A, E to, well, let's go back to like a Jimmy Reed kind of thing even. Opening. So we've learned that if you make a chord, the chord is 3 notes within the same octave. There's only 11 notes, so how complicated could it be? Where I'm headed is something called the chord shape. We've got the bar chord, boom, 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 boom. Get your finger across the whole thing, you know. And then we've got this in the key of E, open E. This is the simple A chord. 3rd string, 1st fret, 5th string, 2nd fret. Now, that makes an A, which is 5 frets up. The next one would make, we're going to take this and go, just move it to there. That's a chord in itself. That's a B7th right there, but we're going to put this on here. And whatever we do back to this. But mostly I want to pay attention to these. They're like stair steps. Boom, boom, boom. We've moved from here down to here. One more and fill the space in. So these are nice even stair steps. Maybe at the end of this little blurb we'll put in some chord charts. This takes us up 10 frets to D. Boom. I'm starting to count and keep track. Chord shapes. Let's take this one that we just, let's call it stair steps, and just do the simple version without the little finger over here, just these 3. We're going to start way up here. This is a B in the key of E. Go back to, that's A in the key of E, in the key of E. Back to more. Now, this is E. Let's go back to E flat and D. Here's the you know, every other pop song uses this chord change. Look how easy it is, though. So we have this shape. And as we move this shape up and down, here's a D, here's a E, F, G, A, and B. We have a whole new way to play all the major chords. So now we have 2 distinct ways of playing all the major chords. And we also are looking at this. Now you can add your little finger anytime over here, because whatever you do to this string, you can do to this. playing strings in open tunings creates interesting stuff. So we're going to go into another shape, the shape of a minor chord. A minor chord is a major chord with the third, here's a major chord, with the third of the chord. We're not going to deal in that right now. The third of the chord flat by 1 fret. So here's now a minor. Okay, now a lot of songs in this key are going to use an F sharp minor, like Airplane. So high now, steam-powered airplane. Okay, and now on the bridge of this song, so we've got a minor chord here. This is an F sharp minor. Now, E, F, F sharp. There's the bar chord, F sharp. Now we're going to take the third and bring it back 1 fret. And then we have a minor chord shape here that will work everywhere. In the Airplane song, on the bridge, we're going to go from F sharp minor to G sharp minor. Well, here we go. How about an A minor? A B minor? A C minor, thank you, Pythagoras. And the D minor. How about an E minor? Well, right there, there's your barred E with the third back 1 fret. You can play all the minor chords with this one shape, moving it up and down the neck. So if you're stuck, you got one. There's other ways to play minors. Actually, if I just flip these two here over, it's another minor chord shape. It's a nice one too. This is the equivalent of the ones we did up there. So with these shapes and being able to count from 1 to 12, you can rule the world. IBM wanted me to rule the world for them, you know, but nah. I could have ruled the world. Could. Okay. Left open E after showing a couple of chord shapes and moving them up and down the neck. You're going to go to open A. Start with a regular tuned guitar. I'm playing an E chord, but here's an A chord. How about that? Now we're going to make a true open A tuning. This is open A major, just like the open E major. We're going to copy the way the guitar plays it exactly. Instead of fretting these 3 strings like you would with a regular A chord, we're going to tighten them up to make the same A chord without touching the strings. Wow, what a concept. So, see, that's the first of the 3 here. That's your 4th string. And then we're going to go up here. Might break a string here. Talk about that later. There we are. This is a very organic sounding tuning. It sounds more like the Forest than the open E tuning. This is the tuning I prefer for slide guitar. You can tune along with me. Close enough. Now, if I bar it, I'm going to make it. Here's a B is up 2 frets. Here's a C up 1 more. Here's a D chord up 5 frets. I'm counting. And the E is up 7 frets. We only have one left. This is your A at the octave. We go back 2, or we can go from the E, F, G. The 10th fret will be G. The next part is very interesting. Remember the chord shapes that we used for open E. This one here that took me up to A, well, the shape is the same. The shape is the same. It just goes to the treble by 1 string. Here's the same. Now I'm going to go from A to D, like I went from E to A. And remember, what I do to this string, I can do to this string over here. These 4 strings have exactly the same relationship as a 5-string banjo, only they're in A instead of G. If we were in open G right now, we would play it exactly note for note like a banjo. Let's see. If you can play the 5-string banjo, you can play in open A or open E right now. The chord shapes are the same. The name of the chord will be different. You'll be in A or E instead of G. But you're a banjo player, you've figured that out. Now, let's look at the other chord shapes. Here's that same minor, only we're going to move it down to here. And the A minor, because we're in open A and back 1 fret here. It's a nice sounding minor chord. The main thing I'm showing here is that whatever you learn in one open major chord tuning is applicable to the other ones, including ones played on other instruments. Now, some caveats. You saw me wind this up. If I was going to keep this in open A, I'd use lighter gauge strings. This is going to get unwound here in about 20 minutes. I normally play in open E flat, 1 fret flat, so when I go into open E, the stress on the guitar is almost identical to a concert tuned guitar. For our purposes of learning, we're going E, A, G, and D, with no sharps or flat stuff. Now, saying that, when you get to your acoustic guitar and you tune it to open E, the intonation on the saddle will be perfect if it's already perfect. If you try to play open A on a saddle intonated for standard tuning, it's going to be hard to do because the intonation needs to move to the treble by 1 string along with the tuning. So a lot of people, open tunings make it easy to fudge, so you can fudge it. I mean, I'm playing it right now, it sounds fine. Now, so the same with open E, if you're going to play an open E all the time, consider using lighter gauge strings for the fourth and fifth strings at least. So the rest of this is John Lee Hooker's tuning. I'm not playing John Lee Hooker, but let's see if we can do this here. Rolling Stones. There's a whole series of Jumpy Jack Flash era. Or we could play the whole thing if I had better hands. The Everly Brothers, Wake Up Little Susie, is in open A, back 2 frets. They're playing it in open G, but it's this tuning. Joni Mitchell. The list goes on. Anyway, people prefer this because of the woody sound, the organic sound, the fingering. Let's see. It's a great tuning, but you may have a little bit of difficulty with intonation unless you get a special saddle. We'll see. I can't speak well without holding on to one of these. So. We have not dealt with open D or open G. And the way I'm going to deal with it right now is to say that open D is the same as open E. All the strings are just turned down 2 frets. Instead of an E here, you got a D. Instead of a B here, you got an A. So, yeah, D, A, D. My book has if you need a chord chart or you need stuff, just message me or email me and I'll send you the PDF if it's at all possible. I have all of them. They're all in my book. But open D, the fingerings for open D and open E in every case are identical except the name of the chord being produced or the notes being produced is 2 frets back. If you're going to make an E chord in open D, well, it's going to be a D chord. Now, in open G, it's identical to open A on the guitar, except it's 2 frets lower. Now, an example of open G would be the 5-string banjo. The fingering on the 4 strings in the upper part of the neck of the 5-string banjo, in fact, all the way down, is identical to the fingering in open A on a guitar tuned to open A. If anyone needs help with those exact tunings and they can't decode stuff, message me and we'll get the exact fingerings for any chord. For open G, I'd go to the Earl Scruggs book on the 5-string banjo. It is absolutely the best explanation of music simplified, chords simplified. And he goes all the way up to augmented 9ths, possibly 13ths, 7ths, 6ths, 9ths, augmented chords. He explains them well and shows you the shape and the exact chord for open G. That's how I learned all the names of the chords for open E, by getting the Earl Scruggs book and figuring backwards. So, 1, 2, hut. So, here's our cast of characters. Meow, meow. I've done all of these in little pieces tonight, except the 5-string, and we're going to piece in another chunk. I think. Oh, okay. Okay. It says change the battery pack. This show's over, folks.